Ex-husband invites his poor ex-wife to humiliate her, but her amazing Ferrari with twins exposes. Sarah sat at her kitchen table, her smartphone flickering with that unmistakable name Tom. It's been years since they'd spoken this intimately. "You're invited to my engagement party," his message read, dripping with opulence. A lavish affair, no doubt, designed to flaunt his new life, his new partner, and her inadequacies. The relentless hum of the refrigerator began to feel ominous as doubts wormed through her mind. What should she do? She hesitated, fingers poised on the screen. Her family's legacy glimmered in the garage, her late father's Ferrari. It reminded her of resilience, but taking it meant facing judgment. The twins, Adam and Zoe, were running around in the backyard, blissfully unaware of the internal battle raging inside her. Did she want to expose them to the pretense of Tom's world? Or give in to fear and shrink back, like a ghost beneath the surface? Defiance rose inside her, mingling uncomfortably with vulnerability. They should see their mother stand tall, she whispered to herself, fighting against the urge to let insecurities drown her. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The sun dipped low as they pulled up to the grand estate, the Ferrari's sleek shape a beacon in the sprawling driveway. Her heartbeat matched the rhythm of the engine as she and the twins stepped out. The guests craned their necks, laughter slicing through the air with an edge of derision. Had Tom orchestrated this? Each stare felt like a whisper saying, "Look at her, she's still a nobody." A shiver of insecurity danced down her spine, but the twins tugged at her hands, grounding her resolve. Inside, the room shimmered with well-heeled laughter and polished smiles, a stark contrast to the grit of her daily struggle. Every corner of the party smacked of superficial glitz, but she was here on her terms. Conversations fluttered around her, revealing the hollow nature of Tom's new life, shallow affluence masked by charm. The tension tugged at her as if it were a living thing, but a glimmer of hope flickered within her. When she spoke about her startup, Sarah could feel a shift. The buzz in the room faltered. Tom's confident smirk wavered, and for the first time, he was on the defensive, trapped in the web of his own making. Their exchange felt charged, cracks spidering over Tom's polished facade. The guests turned their judgment from her to him, and suddenly, she was not the one needing a defense. She fought off the wave of triumph threatening to sweep her away. This was not just about proving him wrong. No, it was deeper, a reclaiming of dignity, a chance for her children to witness their mother as a force of resilience. The moment lingered, suspending the evening's climactic tension, and she realized that dignity didn't dwell in riches, it thrived in grit and groundedness. As the environment thickened with yearning and unspoken truths, she felt every eye on her, every moment could tilt either way. Tom squirmed, and Sarah seized her chance. The realization was overwhelming. Life was about more than wealth. She caught Tom's gaze, offering him a look that transcended mere confrontation. Was this a window to redemption? As her phone buzzed in her pocket, the weight of uncertainty hung thick in the air. What awaited her beyond this moment could irrevocably alter her life, her children's life. Could she find her power without losing who she was? Just as Tom began to respond, the buzz of potential left her breathless, spinning the narrative into a dizzying unknown. The silence stretched, palpable and electric. Sarah's heart raced as she locked eyes with Tom, the air heavy with the gravity of unspoken words. His facade crumbled slightly, revealing the tension beneath. Perhaps this wasn't merely a playful jab but a challenge. Everyone was watching, waiting to see how this play would unfold. The twins, unfazed, tugged at her skirt, their innocence a stark reminder of the stakes she faced. "Sarah," Tom finally said, his voice smooth yet strained, "I didn't expect to see you here. It's quite the surprise." "Sometimes surprises are welcome," she replied, feeling the power of her steady voice. It didn't tremor with fear, it echoed with self-affirmation. This wasn't a reunion for the sake of nostalgia, it was a moment for emancipation. The onlookers oscillated between bewilderment and intrigue. With every word exchanged, Sarah felt layers peel away. Could she confront the remnants of her past without losing sight of who she had become? She sensed the gaze of the crowd shift, they were leaning into her story now. "I've been busy building something of my own. It's been a challenging journey, but I'd say it's been worth every moment," she continued, her confidence swelling. This wasn't just bravado, it was truth, a reflection of her hard work, late nights, and sacrifices. Vulnerability shifted into strength. The more she spoke, the more she recognized her right to be in this very space. Tom's body language shifted yet again, arms crossed tightly over his chest, his earlier bravado flickering like a candle caught in a draft. A twinge of satisfaction surged within her. It wasn't about exacting revenge but about claiming her narrative. Sarah spoke of her startup, detailing the inspiration behind it, the endless nights she dedicated to formulate a dream that had once appeared distant, almost foolish in the eyes of others. The dialogue forged a partnership with her audience, pulling them into her light. And yet, the moment held shards of complicity. In the back of her mind, the lingering insecurities chipped away. Could she truly be that beacon of hope when she still felt fractured within? The twins were misplaced if they could notice the dissonance between her newfound confidence and the deep-seated scars that lingered beneath her skin. Yet they looked on, their eyes wide with admiration. She could not mask her fears now that as the evening progressed. Tom made an effort to regain control, interjecting, "You know, we've all moved on. Those opportunities you think you're building, they come with knowing the right people." His comment was aimed to belittle, yet Sarah felt a fresh resolve wash over her. "True connections supersede contacts, Tom," she responded, voice unwavering even as her mind swirled with reflections. "You know that as well as anyone. I'd rather be pouring my heart into a community built on respect than grinning through window on someone else's back." The faces around them flickered between disbelief and admiration, each barely agreeing with his narrative as another thread began to weave in favor of her perspective. In this moment, the children stood firm at her side, demanding strength and fierce allegiance in her fight against judgment. Suddenly, Sarah had an idea. What if she used this moment not just to confront Tom but to establish a foundation that could threaten his meticulously curated image? Her pulse quickened. A collaboration, a partnership founded on mutual benefit, only if he could bury his ego long enough to see the value in her work. The prospect lingered tantalizingly close, a bridge between their worlds. As she weighed her next words, Sarah felt the walls shifting around her, her history of self-doubt fading into clarity. What she was unearthing wasn't just an avenue for recognition but a pivotal path toward professional empowerment. "Let us talk further, Tom. I believe our work might just align," she said, her voice steady, draping over the silence like velvet. Tom raised an eyebrow, bemusement etching his face, but beneath the surface, she sensed hesitation, a crack forming. Would he take the bait? Would the ghosts of their past affect the business landscape she sought to redefine? As the twins gawked up at her, she felt their belief fortify her resolve, and just at that moment, amid the muted tension and distant chatter, she knew the next move had to take root. What awaited her in the professional realm? Would it be a steep climb or an opportunity to rise, head held high? She turned toward Tom, ready to plunge deeper into a conversation that could either cement their rivalry or unveil an unexpected alliance, as the night stretched endlessly ahead. The tension hung like a heavy mist, wrapping around Sarah and Tom as she saw the flicker of realization cross his features. This wasn't merely an exchange of barbs. It was a confrontation about professional trajectories and personal journeys that had diverged and morphed over the years. She could almost see the wheels turning in his mind, weighing the implications of her bold invitation. Sarah took a deep breath, fully aware that this moment could pivot her life. The murmurs of the gathering faded into a background hum, an echo of a world filled with invisible barriers she had spent too long trying to breach. Now, she stood on the brink of something new, poised for a breakthrough if only Tom could be persuaded to share this space with her. "Sarah, he replied, a mixture of mockery and doubt lining his tone. You really think we could work together? His dismissal, laced with disbelief, tugged at her confidence, but instead of retreating, she felt something shift within. It was a firm resolve, an understanding that her value wasn't tied to his acknowledgement. Absolutely, she asserted, her voice cutting through the noise. But only if you're willing to step into a partnership that respects both our strengths. I can offer a fresh perspective, one that aligns with authenticity and integrity. As she spoke, vivid images danced before her eyes, a future where her startup flourished, impacting lives and communities positively. The twins tugged gently at her skirt, blissfully unaware of the stakes. But Sarah was anchored by their presence, feeling a bubbling source of strength rising within her. Tom's skepticism began to crack, the slightest hint of intrigue playing across his features. You don't think that what I do is relevant? He prodded, trying to reclaim authority. I think your approach needs a new understanding of relevance, she countered, adding layers to her voice. Business isn't just about who you know or the numbers you crunch, it's about creating meaningful connections. That's where we can bridge the gap. For the first time, she noticed the crowd's shift in dynamics, huddled whispers transformed into hushed attentiveness. Tom's attempt to belittle her only seemed to enhance her gravitas. The recognition from the onlookers shifted from passive spectatorship to active engagement. She was no longer just the underdog, she was a contender. As the words flowed from her, Sarah stumbled upon her own understanding of her narrative. She wasn't merely a woman fighting against an ex-husband, she was a brand rising from ashes, fueled by heart and determination. Tom shifted the conversation, trying to trap her in the comfort of familiar dynamics. You had your chances, Sarah. What makes you think this is different? His challenge resonated, but Sarah felt the spark of defiance igniting. Because I've changed, Tom, she responded, her voice unwavering. I've invested in my growth, not just professionally but personally. I'm not that woman who defines herself through your eyes anymore. The conviction in her statement hung in the air like an unbreakable thread, binding her to her purpose. With every exchanged glance, she could see the realization dawning slowly on him, the facade of superiority slipping. But beneath it all, an unsettling seed of doubt began to sprout. Could pursuing this partnership be more harmful than beneficial? Was she prepared to navigate the choppy waters of collaboration with someone who had previously sought to undermine her? Yet Sarah pressed on. I'm willing to forge a new path, Tom. If you can let go of old grudges and see the potential in our combined efforts. Silence enveloped them once more. The twins played innocently among the onlookers, blissfully unaware of the internal storm within her. Time hung heavy as anticipation settled like a fog pressing down the evening. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted, and for a heartbeat, Sarah sensed a faint glimmer of mutual understanding in Tom's gaze. Would he step up and embrace this opportunity, or would he retreat behind his walls once more? With resolve pulsing through her veins. She knew this was not just about the business, it was about defining her narrative on her own terms. The ground felt shaky underneath her as she braced for his response, aware that the next seconds could irrevocably change the course of her journey. The stakes were high, and as Tom opened his mouth to speak, the promise of a transformative alliance hung palpably in the silence, waiting to be realized or dashed to pieces by a single word. Sarah held her breath, the world around her fading into a blur. Tom's expression shifted, the tension between them crystallizing into something almost tangible. What would he say? Would he recognize the path forward, or would he cling to their past, shackled by old grievances? Let us be real, Tom began, his voice steady yet still carrying an edge. How could our collaboration even begin to make sense? After everything that happened, you think I'd de-risk my reputation on your startup? His words were a dagger, each syllable wrapped in history. Yet within the shock, Sarah found clarity. She was no longer the scared woman silenced by his dominance. Because I have something to offer beyond the past, she replied, the steadiness in her tone lending her words power. Every setback I've faced has sharpened my insight and revealed my resilience. You might not see the value now, but I'm ready to prove it. In that moment, she envisioned the workshops she could lead, the connections she could forge. She was no longer simply a participant in a world dictated by others. No, Sarah was stepping into her own narrative, reshaping the very essence of who she was. This was not just about Tom, it was about personal transformation, entrepreneurial vision, and the stark power of belief. Tom's surprise momentarily cracked the facade he wore. She caught a glimpse of uncertainty in his eyes and opening. "You think you can sway me just by talking?" He took a step forward, cutting the distance, though his posture remained rooted in skepticism. "Not just talking," Sarah corrected him, her voice gaining momentum. "I've built a business model that addresses gaps others overlook. It's authentic, and driven by real needs, not just profit margins. You know the market is crowded and disconnected, but my approach is different. Together, we can disrupt that space." Each word was a foothold she climbed, a step into newfound confidence that he paused, as if weighing the idea. Sarah pressed further, fueled by the growing sense of agency. She could feel the spark of possibility igniting in the air, and she knew she couldn't afford to retreat. "Remember the partnership we once envisioned? What if we stripped away the bitterness and crafted something innovative, meaningful?" The sound of her twins giggling in the background anchored her, reminding her of the legacy she wanted to create, not just for herself but for them. She could feel the weight of importance surrounding her mission, and it emboldened her stance. Tom's brows knit together as he seemingly grapples with a complex blend of emotions. Did her words finally resonate, or was he clinging to the comfort of cynicism? Her heart raced with anticipation. "Here's the thing, Sarah," he finally said, his voice softer yet still incredulous. "Does your vision really matter, or is it just a facade hiding your past failures?" His question hit like an arrow, and doubt bubbled up within her. Her instinct was to stand her ground, but the vulnerability of his challenge unraveled her briefly. She could feel the past tugging at her, eager to pull her back into its embrace. Was she truly ready to answer that question with honesty? In that silence, Sarah contemplated how far she had come. The missed opportunities, the losses that haunted her, and the judgment that had scarred her spirit. But what he didn't know, what he couldn't comprehend, was that she thrived not despite her past, but because of it. The fire he believed would extinguish her resolve had only forged her strength further. "As skin-deep as it may seem, it is my truth, Tom," she responded, vulnerability lacing her words but power in her delivery. "And unlike before, I embrace it. The past shapes me, but it doesn't define me. Will you step into the same light with me?" The air shifted again as both of them teetered on a precipice in uncharted territory rife with potential and pitfalls. Would he take the leap into partnership, or would he withdraw once more, leaving her to forge ahead alone? As her heart danced with uncertainty, the unmistakable tide of change surged within her. The moment of reckoning approached, and Sarah braced herself for what lay ahead, knowing that her future rested not in Tom's hands but in her willingness to push forward, to redefine boundaries. "Are we doing this or not?" Tom challenged, a peculiar mixture of apprehension and excitement flickering in his eyes. With her breath hitching, Sarah felt the vibrations of destiny intertwining with fear. The question hung in the air, a critical juncture beckoning after years of longing for this chance. Would she step fully into her power and craft her narrative alongside someone who had often sought to undermine her? As the reality of that question bathed her in a warm glow of possibility, Sarah's resolve crystallized. The next step would be hers. Would she take it? Sarah's heart raced, blood pounding in her ears as she grappled with Tom's question. It wasn't just an inquiry, it felt like a door creaking open, a fragile opportunity dangled before her. Here was the moment, the synthesis of years of struggle, doubt, and self-discovery converging into this tense exchange. "Let us start fresh," she suggested, the phrase hanging in the air like a tentative promise. "Not as former partners, but as investors driven by mutual ambition. Your expertise combined with my unique perspective could redefine our respective trajectories. Instead of fearing each other's pasts, we can use them to build a powerful future." For a heartbeat, Tom's skepticism wavered, curiosity flickering in his eyes like a flame tempered by doubt. Is that what you really want, Sarah? Or is it just another attempt to stake your claim in a field that's undoubtedly tough? Frustration bubbled within her, forcing her to confront her own desire for validation. Here she was, bare and exposed, challenging him to see her worth, to redefine not only their dynamic but also her reality. She remembered the countless moments of self-doubt that haunted her decision-making, tainted her ambitions, and how her passion had been overshadowed by past failures. I'm not here to prove anything to you, Tom. This is about proving it to myself. The words emerged with unexpected ferocity, clarifying her own motivations. Each failure, every digression, had carved out new wisdom. She wouldn't just sink into the comfort of a past partnership, she needed more. Sarah envisioned her brand an extension of her spirit, incorporating the lessons learned from every setback. Her excitement, still simmering beneath the surface, ignited anew. Think about it. My approach isn't just about profit, it's purpose-driven, authentic, something that resonates with our time, she continued, her tone steadier now. We're in a world desperate for genuine connection, not just transactions. I've seen it firsthand, and I'm committed to bridging that gap. Tom stared at her, weighing her words, the air thick with unspoken promises. She felt the magnetic pull of ambition, of a dream she had ceaselessly chased. His discomfort didn't deter her, it fueled a deeper resolve. Could she pivot the narrative? Could she paint a new reality with fewer brushes of doubt and more strokes of tenacity? When the tension cracked and the silence grew unbearable, she pressed again, have a second thought about it. I challenge you, Tom, risk your comfort because I'm prepared to risk mine. This time, her voice caught a heady mix of boldness and vulnerability. She reveled in the unfamiliar sensation, willing to embrace discomfort because that was where growth thrived. A flicker of admiration flashed in Tom's eyes despite himself. You really believe you can change things, don't you? I don't just believe it. I know it. Her response reverberated in the space between them, a pivotal moment encapsulating the essence of her transformation. This time, she wasn't retreating into the shadows cast by their shared history. Instead, she radiated a newfound confidence that could illuminate the possibilities of what they could achieve together. Suddenly, a siren whipped past outside, punctuating the palpable tension. The distraction inflamed her determination. This was not just about a partnership with Tom, it was her fight for agency, for respect, both personally and professionally. As progress loomed, she could hear the distant laughter of her twins weaving its way through the tumultuous thoughts. They were her grounding force, the constant reminder of the importance behind her ambitions. If she faltered, what example would she set for them? In that moment, she vowed to carve her own path resolutely. Whether Tom joined her or not rested in his hands now, but she would not let fear dictate her future any longer. A shift had occurred, one that transcended their previous affiliations and plunged deeper into a shared pursuit of ingenuity. I'll ask again, Sarah. Are we really doing this? Tom's voice was tinged with a mix of challenge and intrigue now, a far cry from the cynical edge when this conversation began. Her gaze met his, steel focusing beneath the surface as she took a deep breath. Yes, Tom, if you're ready to take a chance on what's ahead. Time slowed, and the spaces between their breaths amplified the stakes of this decision. The next step loomed on the horizon, and she knew the stakes had shifted once more. Her own resolve rippled through her, she was on the cusp of something extraordinary. A thought prickled at the edge of her mind. Was this the true beginning, or would it lead back to old patterns? As Tom pondered her words, she felt the heat of opportunity surge within her, alive and crackling. Her next move would define them both, but doubts whispered still. What if he isn't ready? The thought lingered, refusing to dissipate. Would Tom be willing to embrace the risks alongside her? And with that looming question, she felt an unyielding resolve take root. Regardless of his decision, she would step forward into the unknown. How far could she push, and what might she uncover about herself in this new chapter? The answer was waiting just beyond the threshold, shrouded in uncertainty yet illuminated by potential. Sarah's breath hitched as Tom regarded her, the weight of silence threatening to swallow them whole. It was as if time itself had paused, awaiting his answer, and her pulse quickened in anticipation. The intensity of the moment sharpened her senses, and she could feel the energy in the room shift. What had begun as a simple proposition now bore the heavy significance of potential redemption, not just in her professional life, but in her self-image. "All right, I'll think about it," he finally said, his voice low, as if the words were reluctant to break free. A wave of relief washed over her, mingled with the uncertainty that crept in behind it. Could she truly take this leap with him? A partnership with Tom, with the history they had both good and painful, felt like a risk wrapped in both promise and peril. It inspired in her a relentless determination, intertwined with a flicker of doubt. "Let us meet tomorrow. We can discuss specifics," she offered, seizing the fleeting moment of momentum. "Yes, definitely." He sounded more engaged now, a departure from the guarded stance he had taken earlier. It was a tentative victory, yet she could feel the pressure of scrutiny looming. Would he follow through, or would this become another point of regret in her journey? As she exited the cafe, the din of the city buzzed around her but felt distant. Clarity washed over her, she had taken control in a way she never had before. The burden of expectation, tangled with her fears, had begun to unravel, revealing paths she had not considered. The laughter of her children bounced in her mind like a buoy, steadying her spirit. It reinforced her resolve to remain authentic. This was not just about ambition or success, this was a legacy she wanted to establish for her twins. An embodiment of resilience she made a mental note to uphold at all costs. The following day, she entered her workspace with a renewed sense of agency. She scanned the cluttered office, now bursting with ideas. A brainstorming session lay ahead, and every detail of her brand was poised at the tip of her fingers, waiting to emerge from the shrouded depths of uncertainty. Each idea began to take shape under the steady rain of her focus, a torrential downpour washing away lingering doubts. It was time to craft her vision, something that seeped authenticity into each layer. The branding would resonate deeply, extending beyond profit margins. It had to be a reflection of her journey, her struggles interlacing with her aspirations. A ding from her phone broke her concentration, and she glanced down to see a notification from Tom. "Looking forward to our meeting." Simple. Yet the addition of that excited emoji made her heart quicken again. Perhaps he was beginning to comprehend not only the potential partnership but her as a person. The thought compelled her to sit down and sketch her vision further. What could they create together? Would he accept her ideas? Deeper layers began to peel back as she realized this was not merely transactional. She was forging a connection with him that could redefine everything. With every stroke of her pen, she discovered more about herself, her aspirations morphing into tangible goals. She cracked through her previous barriers of doubt. Her creativity felt unshackled, a vivid cascade of colors spilling across the page. Hours later, she sat back, realizing she had crafted a narrative far beyond a business plan. It encapsulated her evolution, her tenacity. Each element of her intention was vibrant, driven by authenticity, but as satisfaction settled in, shadows of uncertainty loomed once more. What if Tom didn't see the potential as she did? What if he viewed her ideas through a lens tinted by their past? A quick exhale racked her composure. The fear of rejection was there, circling like a hawk. Would she have the courage to present this vision and withstand any critique? As night descended, she steeled herself for the impending meeting. She understood that she was no longer the hesitant partner shadowed by doubt, she was the architect of her destiny. The meeting would be a crucible of sorts, one that would test her newfound determination. Tomorrow would reveal if her vision could withstand scrutiny or if she would once again find herself wrestling with her insecurities. The stakes felt higher than ever. What awaited her on the other side, however, was unclear. As she lay down, a thought crept in. Was Tom truly ready to face what she had become? Time would tell if he embraced both the risks and rewards of this new partnership or if he simply wanted to return to their old ways. Yet, regardless of the outcome, she had taken a decisive step, one that could propel her forward or push her back toward the shadows. And for the first time, she felt a sense of power in the uncertainty. Her journey was only just beginning, the real test lay ahead. The morning sun filtered through Sarah's office window, casting a warm glow on the scattered sheets filled with her ideas. She felt a transformation within her, a growing sense of clarity and purpose that propelled her forward. As she meticulously reviewed her pitch one last time, anticipation coiled tightly in her stomach, a mix of excitement and underlying anxiety. Arriving at the meeting place, she took a deep breath, reminding herself of her strength. The vibrant energy she had created in her workspace was now a part of her. She was no longer the woman who permitted herself to be overshadowed. She was a mother, a warrior, and an entrepreneur fighting for her vision. When she entered the conference room, Tom was already seated, a tentative smile flickering across his face. The stark contrast between the formal environment and the personal connection they shared stirred a cocktail of emotions within her. It wasn't just about business, it was about two people with a complicated history trying to forge a new path. "Hey, thanks for making time," he said, gesturing for her to take a seat. She nodded, feeling the urge to respond with more bravado than she possessed. "Absolutely. I'm excited to share what I've been working on." As she set her presentation materials down, she caught a glimpse of the hesitation in Tom's eyes. Would he be the supportive partner she needed, or would the shadows of their past haunt this new endeavor? "Let's jump in," she said, her tone firm despite the stirring uncertainty. As she spoke, her voice grew more confident, flowing seamlessly from one point to the next. Each slide reflected not merely a plan but painted a portrait of her life, the struggles she faced and the victories she cherished. Sarah didn't just want to build a business, she wanted to create something that resonated with people, something with soul. Yet, as she presented, she sensed Tom's shifting demeanor. Was he intrigued? Skeptical? Each nod or furrowed brow set off vibrations in her chest. Her heart raced, pushing her words faster, desperate to convince him of her vision, the delightful chaos of creativity merging with the hard truths of reality. "Sarah, this is impressive," he finally said, his brow raised in genuine surprise. "You've really thought this through." The relief that washed over her was fleeting, as his next question pierced through her moment of triumph. "But how do you envision us working together? The risks are significant." His tone was conversational, yet it carried an edge. This was at the moment she feared yet had prepared for. "I know our past complicates things, but I've evolved since then. We can leverage our combined strengths." As Sarah spoke, she realized this was more than a proposal. It was a mini-therapy session with herself. She was not merely pitching her ideas, but reclaiming her power. The struggle with her insecurities wasn't just about this business, it was about asserting who she had become. Tom leaned back, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. Would he embrace her vision, or would he see it merely as an extension of their past failures? "I need to know you're all in," he finally said, his voice steady but urgent. "I can't afford another setback, and I can't do this alone." The pressure mounted as the room fell silent. Tom's challenge wasn't just professional, it cut to the core of Sarah's fear that she would be cast aside again, just as she had felt in their marriage. "Then let's define what all in means," she countered, adopting his seriousness. "This isn't just about you, or even me, this is about creating something that matters." The air between them thickened with tension, the stakes rising above mere business matters. A second passed, then another, time suspended between doubt and determination. For the first time, Sarah was no longer questioning her own value, she was asserting it, but amidst the burgeoning confidence was a gnawing question. Would Tom truly accept who she had become, or was he still seeing the woman who once relied on him for validation? "No turning back, then," he replied, a challenge. Lacing his words. As they exchanged determined glances, a pivotal moment of resolve ignited. They were both risking vulnerability, laying bare their hopes and fears in this shared endeavor. It was a dance of two partners, each taking a step toward an uncertain future. The next move was crucial, and for Sarah, it was an exhilarating blend of fear and excitement. Could this partnership be an opportunity for growth, a chance to redefine their relationship and their futures? At that moment, she understood it was not Tom's approval she sought, it was her own acceptance of her worth. The meeting was a testament of bravery, but the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges. As she left the conference room, a new thought reverberated in her mind. She had opened a door, but was she prepared for what lay beyond it? The realization struck her that sometimes, the most daunting challenge is not confronting others but facing oneself. Tomorrow, she would have to navigate the intricate dynamics of partnership, learning to trust not only Tom but her instincts. Would this collaboration ignite a spark or burn bridges previously built? Only time would tell, but she was determined to forge ahead, come what may. The next morning, Sarah awoke to a soft light spilling through her curtains, illuminating her thoughts with fresh clarity. The complexity of her emotions intertwined with the sharp optimism that had surged during her meeting with Tom. As she sipped her coffee, she felt a mix of anticipation and trepidation swirling in her chest. The journey of rebuilding her life and this new partnership loomed large in her mind. She took her notes from the meeting and spread them across the kitchen table. Each scribble was a reminder of the commitment she had made not just to her business but to herself. She had asserted her power, demanding respect and acknowledgement where she had once felt invisible. Yet, as she reviewed her plans, fresh doubts began to creep in. Was she truly ready to navigate the complexities of working with Tom? The thought of their shared past made her heart race. They had built a life together, only to watch it crumble under the weight of unmet expectations and hurt feelings. Could she trust him again, let alone rely on him as a business partner? Each question was like a ripple, expanding into doubts about her own capabilities and whether she could build something beautiful from the ashes of their history. In search of focus, she decided to take a walk, hoping that the crisp morning air would clear her mind. As she stepped onto the sidewalk, the city hummed around her, a blend of energy and possibility. She felt that familiar spark of independence ignite within her. It was funny, she thought, how one meeting could recalibrate her entire outlook, a reminder that she was more than what she had experienced. Through the winding streets, she reflected on her vision. What had originally seemed like a lofty dream was now a tangible goal, driven by determination and an unyielding belief in her worth. She spotted a group of children at a nearby park, laughing and racing around, prompting memories of her own children and their boundless energy. Their laughter anchored her spirit, reminding her that she was doing this not just for herself but for them too. By the time Sarah turned back home, new ideas began to take shape. Embracing creativity was not just about her business concept, it was about designing a life that resonated with her values and passions. The realization steadied her resolve and infused her with a renewed sense of purpose. Later that afternoon, she settled in her office again, her laptop open and her mind racing with possibilities. She began drafting a strategic plan, detailing the first steps to advance her vision. Each point was infused with her newfound confidence. She would not just be a partner but a leader in her own right. The idea of leveraging both of their strengths felt invigorating, stirring the dormant entrepreneur within her. But just as she hit her stride, her phone buzzed with a text from Tom that swiftly disrupted her concentration. Excited for our next meeting. Let's chat about projections later. I'll handle logistics. Her immediate reaction was a mix of annoyance and surprise. Suddenly, the roles felt as if they were shifting back to a place she had fought hard to escape. The text felt dismissive, as though he still viewed her as an extension of himself rather than an equal partner. Was this the same man who had expressed concern over setbacks? Did he truly understand her capabilities? Rather than succumbing to frustration, she took a deep breath, reminding herself of the transformation she had undertaken. This was her chance to set the tone for their collaboration. Responding with a strong, assertive message, she reclaimed her narrative. Looking forward to it. Let's discuss how I can contribute to the projections. I have some ideas that might help. As she hit send, a surge of adrenaline rushed through her. She was learning to assert herself, to challenge the dynamics that threatened to diminish her value in this partnership. The conversation would be pivotal. They had to establish boundaries and redefine their roles without the shadows of the past dictating their future. In the silence that followed, Sarah felt a silence settle into her bones, revealing the uncharted territory ahead. While she envisioned exciting prospects, lingering doubts crept back in. Could she maintain this newfound assertiveness? What if Tom slipped back into old patterns? The impending meeting felt fraught with uncertainty, a test of her resolve. As she prepared for the inevitable challenges ahead, she found herself at a crossroads, her heart racing with both fear and exhilaration. What lay ahead could either be a breakthrough or a confrontation with the remnants of their shared history. Determined to stand her ground, Sarah knew she had to navigate this delicate dance with tact and tenacity. The question laced through her thoughts as she faced the uncharted future. Would she be able to command her space, or would the ghosts of their past continue to haunt her? As the sun dipped below the horizon, a storm of emotions brewed within her, driving her forward one step at a time. This time, she fervently hoped she could not only survive the impending confrontation, but thrive beyond it. The day of the meeting dawned, heavy with the weight of potential conflict. Sarah emerged from the shower, the steam filling the small bathroom, as she methodically prepped for the discussion. The mirror fogged over, but she could still see the reflection of a woman determined to assert her stance. She dressed with care, choosing a tailored blazer that spoke of authority and professionalism. Today, she would not be the woman relegated to the sidelines. She was stepping into her power. The drive to the office was a mixture of excitement and dread. Each traffic light felt like an obstacle in her path, an agonizing countdown to the inevitable confrontation with Tom. What if he dismissed her contributions again? What if he didn't see her as an equal? The doubts gnawed at her resolve. Yet, with every moment spent imagining the countless scenarios, she reminded herself that she had carved this opportunity through resilience. Upon arrival, she found Tom already seated in the conference room, fidgeting with the papers spread before him. His presence stirred a blend of nostalgia and irritation, memories flooding her mind, each one shaped by their shared past. Today, however, she sought to navigate the past with a fresh perspective. They were not a couple anymore, they were two professionals attempting to build something from the ground up. "Sarah. Glad you made it." Tom greeted her with a smile that felt oddly familiar yet unsettling. "Thanks, Tom. I hope we can get right into it. I've prepared some insights on the projections," she said, keeping her tone steady, deflecting the warmth of his greeting. As they sat down, the conversation began to flow, navigating through figures and graphs. However, the moment he casually dismissed one of her ideas, waving it away as if swatting a fly, Sarah felt the familiar sting of hurt and anger. This was the very dynamic she had been terrified of returning. "Actually, I believe my suggestion could really enhance our initial sales," she interjected, her voice firm. "It's crucial we consider different angles, especially in the early stages." Tom paused, surprised at her assertion. For a fleeting second, she saw a glimmer of respect in his eyes, but it quickly vanished behind a veil of defensiveness. "You're suggesting we alter our entire approach based on a limited dataset? I just think we should stick to what's manageable." His words hung in the air, oppressive and challenging. The atmosphere crackled as Sarah rooted herself in her conviction. Could she truly stand firm in the face of his dismissiveness, or would the once all too frequent setbacks draw her back into old patterns of self-doubt? "Let me show you the data I compiled. It's not just a hunch, there's evidence to back it up," she said, lifting her laptop and displaying the chart she had meticulously crafted. Tom's expression softened as he leaned in to examine the screen, but within moments, she could sense him retreating. "This is interesting, but we don't have time to implement it before the launch," he remarked, dismissing her proposal again, albeit more diplomatically. A flicker of frustration ignited within her, propelling her to push back harder. "If we don't take risks, then we're already failing before we start. I understand the urgency, but we need a foundation based on insights, not just assumptions." Their eyes clashed, a silent battle of wills unfolding as the realization seared through her. She was standing on the brink of a pivotal moment. Did she trust herself to break free from old patterns of submissiveness? This was her chance to define the partnership not as a subordinate but as an empowered equal. Tom shifted in his seat, a hint of embarrassment coloring his cheeks as he processed her challenge. "All right, Let's take a step back, he conceded slowly. She could see him weighing the implications, a flicker of vulnerability weaving through his facade. In that moment, Sarah felt emboldened. She had fought to reclaim her voice, and here began the slow dismantling of the walls they once built together. Each word she spoke was crafted from the essence of her determination, forged in the fires of their past failures and her own evolving identity. Just as the rhythm of the conversation began to shift, Sarah's phone buzzed quietly from her bag, snapping her back into the reality of their world. The tender moment of mutual respect stood on a precarious edge. She glanced down to see a text from a friend, with a photo attached, a snapshot of memories that pulled her back into the richness of her life beyond the constraints of this meeting. A reminder that she was not just someone defined by her relationship with Tom, but a woman capable of so much more. Feeling her pulse quicken, she looked back at Tom, seeing more than the man she had once known. He was now an adversary, a partner, a catalyst for her growth. Would they be able to navigate through this challenge together, or would the ghosts of their past ultimately sabotage the future she envisioned? With adrenaline coursing through her veins, Sarah inhaled deeply, determined to navigate the conversations ahead with both strategy and strength, knowing that this was only the beginning. Would she maintain her momentum, or would the temptation to yield return? The stakes heightened in her mind, the path forward looming as a potentially transformative encounter. The meeting was just gaining momentum, but Sarah knew it was a precursor to something much greater. Days passed in a whirlwind of planning, meetings, and opportunities. Sarah poured herself into her startup with an intensity that charted new territory in her career and personal life. The initial meeting with Tom had ignited a conversation she had longed to have, and she was determined not to let it fizzle into the background noise of their complex history. Each day in the office became a stepping stone toward deeper collaboration, fueled by equal parts ambition and accountability. With each interaction, she recognized the shift in dynamics. Her confidence solidified, no longer a flickering flame but a steady blaze. Tom began to respect her contributions, often revealing flashes of vulnerability that surprised them both. Their discussions evolved, he began to pitch ideas and consider her input seriously. This partnership was no longer about their past but about building a future. As weeks turned into months, they worked together on strategies that would position their startup as a leader in their field. Sarah designed workshops emphasizing emotional intelligence in business, revealing the importance of authentic connections over superficial metrics. She poured her experiences into the sessions, illustrating how resilience rooted in hardship transformed challenges into stepping stones. One day, during a particularly engaging workshop, the realization hit her like a wave. The twins' laughter echoed in her mind, reminding her why she had pursued this path. She wanted them to see their mother as a figure of empowerment, tenacity, and innovation. It was crucial. They knew resilience was just waiting for the storm to pass, but learning to dance in the rain. That evening, she and Tom met to review the laid-out plans. The conference room, once conservative and strained in energy, had transformed into a sanctuary of creativity. "We're on the cusp of something profound, Tom," Sarah said, her voice steady, yet electric. "Our approach is resonating. It's palpable." "I didn't think you could push back like this, Sarah," he admitted, a small smile creeping onto his face. "You've proved me wrong time and time again." Her heart flickered, as pride fought against the old ghost of insecurity. "This isn't about proving you wrong, it's about claiming my space and knowing I belong here," she replied, an unshakable conviction grounding her words. Their synergy culminated in a pivotal moment when they prepared to present their progress to a panel of investors. Sarah meticulously crafted every detail, segmenting their presentation into engaging stories and data-driven insights. It wasn't merely a business pitch, it was the culmination of both their journeys and growth. This was her chance to shine, a testament to how far she had come. As she stood before the panel, nerves danced within her, but they were grounded in excitement. "Building a business isn't just a financial venture, it's a reflection of our values," she began. The energy shifted. She narrated her journey, the challenges she faced and the resilience that guided her. The clarity of her vision resonated with the room, transforming the narrative of her past into a source of strength. The panel leaned in, captivated. Her narrative had shifted their perception. Her voice wove the fabric of tenacity, ambition, and hope seamlessly, reflecting the growth journey she had undertaken. When the final question came, regarding their shared vision of the future, she delivered without faltering. Our future hinges on our ability to connect authentically while innovating fearlessly. Together, we will craft a story that transcends just profit margins. It's about enriching lives. As she finished, the room erupted into applause, acknowledgement that reverberated beyond mere words. An investor approached Sarah, eyes gleaming with appreciation. "You have a compelling story. I see immense potential in what you've outlined. Let's discuss further." With the silver lining of opportunity now blazing before her, she felt a tranquil sense of accomplishment wash over her as the applause echoed in her mind. This wasn't just about seizing the moment, it was about proving to herself she had achieved a fundamental shift, not only in her career but in her identity. Her ex-husband's ghost had faded into the periphery. She was no longer tethered to a past that sought to define her. As the meeting concluded and celebration ensued, she exchanged a glance with Tom. Their path had morphed from competition to mutual respect, a partnership forged on recognition of each other's strengths. In that moment, acknowledgement filled the space between them, a silent promise to navigate the waves together as equals. Each step forward now felt like a deliberate act of creation. With every success, she constructed a narrative founded in accomplishment and self-discovery. It wasn't merely the exhilaration of victory. She had transcended her past, asserting her worth as a professional and a mother. Sarah had crossed an invisible threshold. She held solid confidence, recognized competence, and an established position in both her business and her life. She had demonstrated that growth was not only possible after hardship, but a gateway toward genuine fulfillment. And as she and Tom walked out into the bustling street, emboldened by their potential, the world ahead felt open and inviting, each challenge now a step toward the legacy she envisioned for her twins. This was her moment. Now is your moment. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that inspire resilience. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure these transformative narratives reach those who need them. Comment your reactions and theories about this ending. You need to share your insights. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who are ready to embrace their own journeys. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.